Why do people spend so much time and money on self-care? So we're seeing a big epidemic of sound baths, ecstatic dance, yin things. And it is very, very important for us to look at what's going on in this epidemic of discussion about the nervous system. Okay. And the thing is that when we look at our human and spiritual experience more holistically, we'll see that no one thing is the only important thing. And what's happening right now is a lot of people feel that they have to teach about this. This is what they need. It feels like they can never get enough of it. Okay, so I want to talk about that right now. If we feel that way, there's something's not working. Okay. And I really want to break this down because I think that a lot of people are not focusing on the right place in their journey and they're just stagnating. So I get it. For a lot of people, maybe we have single parents, we have people who are trying to hold down a job, but trying to set up something else that feels more aligned with who they are. And all the stresses of living for a lot of people in a city, bombarded with 5G, racing around, trying to make it to work on time, all these things that keep them stuck in a machine that very much perpetuates a disconnect from all that is. This is why more and more people are opting out and going to live in the countryside. They're finding they need to regulate, they need to change something in their lives. So, of course, there is something in knowing that at the end of the week you kind of limp in, sort of crawl in through the door to have a sound bath. But is this really the long-term fix? And this is where I really want to speak to this because I see people who almost will say other work is unsafe because they're clutching to this work so dearly. Okay. And in some psychotherapies, we would actually say that's a firefighter, it's a soother. Okay. And sometimes when people are talking about being on a spiritual journey, they're actually talking about being on a well-being journey so far because they're not actually getting to the root of what that is that's not making them feel okay. And this is where, if a lot of people knew about the spiritual principles of karma, we would understand more that when we're feeling a certain way or there are things that habits in our life that aren't great, that we need some help. We need to do something to release that overwhelm. And when we look at trauma, we'll see, wow, trauma is about feeling quite overwhelmed. So basically, we have essentially a lot of energy that is blocked, that is holding us back from being our true expanded self. And we can go for these little fixes. We can go and have 8 million sound baths and lots of massage and go to the spa every month, but we're never getting to the root, which is our karma trauma. And I have written some chapters, made some little videos about karma trauma, and I'm going to keep making more because until we see the connection with cause and effect and understand some of the deeper, ancient, tried and tested ways to work through this, we're going to keep clinging to this stuff. And we're finding it increasingly hard to deliver certain teachings to students because the overwhelm is so great. And of course, people are worried about war, they're worried about the financial situation. And when a person is so embroiled in the drama of the world, everything feels more overwhelming. So if we could change our karma, that didn't touch us so much, that we were feeling happier and more rewarded because we're on our true path, we need to make a leap. And a lot of people are currently, they're not in the life they really want to be in. And they know that, but they don't quite know how to get there. So they're just getting the quick fixes in between. So this is where purification comes in. This is where working through the burdens, the overload, this is tried and tested by the ancients. And one of the main ways that they did this was through what they call tapasya. And we're starting to organize immersions of a very basic way of introducing you to spiritual purification. Imagine if you just no longer felt like that and you didn't even know what day it changed, but suddenly your karma wasn't that you're just coping in the wrong job, you have the wrong relationships, everything's difficult, your health is not great, that actually that you have a really tried and tested way of exponentially purifying that. So rather than spending a fortune on the same fixes and clinging to it, which doesn't really progress us into our journey to be strong and timeline changers, okay? We need to become more robust and it's okay to be sensitive. But when we can't function and we're projecting that on everybody around us because we actually can't hold it down anymore, usually it's a sign that there's some extra energy that we need to release. This is one of the reasons why we do quantum transfiguration work, which is also helping people identify their karma and help them to transmute that very quickly. So it's a different form of purification that's worked with in pairs or in small groups. But I really invite you all to start to look at the logic here because I think that a lot of people are so overwhelmed they can't even break this down. So if you think, okay, I'm actually just needing to do so much of this. What if my life was flowing more? And what if I didn't feel overwhelmed? To understand that if a computer is overwhelmed, it goes really slowly and the fan starts making noises. And we realize, wow, I have to take off all these old junk files. Okay, that's what the universe wants us to do. And we have to look at the junk files. We have to do something mindfully. You can't just ask your computer has to ask you what files need to go, right? You have to mindfully apply yourself to make the computer function better. So it's kind of funny that we sometimes have to use these technological analogies for people to understand, but that's what's happening for people. So the band-aid, the soother, that's not going to address the problem. And people will find that their nervous system will come online better when they have more time. So when we are embroiled with our karma trauma, we don't have enough time to do the practices that really work. So this is why we need to purify, because when you purify, the karmic blockages that create the overwhelm and the overwhelm will release. And then you'll be able to cope with overwhelming situations better. All right. So I really, really invite you all to look at purification. And this can take many forms. Some people need really purgative purification. Some people need just some quantum field. Most people will benefit from some sort of astrological fasting, going on pilgrimage, sacrificing something in our lives to the divine, to our purification. And we now have this course. We are running it real time, and sometimes it'll be available in recorded form as well. But when you do it real time, you have people helping you keep up. And we also know the key astrological dates to do this. So I have been making this course recently, and it's just really showing me how the last 18 years of very deep purification have brought such a deep state of contentment without too much expectation as to what is or isn't supposed to be in my life. And I wish for this for everybody. And I think that we're just missing an important part of the formula right now. And I just really want to speak the efficacy of doing a bit of purification. It'll mean you spend less money. You can still go to sound baths, they're wonderful, but I see people really grasping and just this kind of cult of self-care that's taken over everything. All right. So we will be sharing more and more. We have some little videos, and yeah, just if you want to come online or find out more about this, do get in touch. And even if this isn't calling you, really start to consider that if you want to grow spiritually, you have to start at the purification level. All right. And self and well-being is not the same as spirituality. Okay. So are you a well-being person, or are you saying you're spiritual, but you're just well-being? Okay. And that's okay. But just we need to be careful with what it is we're really starting to be in our lives, because a lot of people feel very alienated from their own spirituality because people who are doing keep fit think they're being spiritual. Okay. So of course, if that's your way of serving the divine, it's not for me to challenge that. But yeah, just really look at what you're doing in the name of your higher journey and who you're doing it for and what you're doing it for. Because if you're just doing things to soothe, it's showing that there's still quite a lot of underlying unprocessed data in your system from your ancestors, or if you believe in it, from past lives or from childhood. And you're going to keep seeking those comforting moments. And it will be disproportionate what you're investing in that for what your true pathway could be, where you're really going to find you're living the life that you really, really are here for. All right. So I hope this helps you to step from your karma trauma to your highest dharma. Gracias, gracias, gracias.